All right. What is going on, my Treasure Box family? Mi familia, what is up? This is your host, FERMI here, coming to you live from Los Angeles with another episode of the Music Producers Treasure Box. Today's episode is super chill, guys. It's my boy, Ciryus, the Modern Marvel is what he goes by. And he is a part of my February series of podcasts called The Fresh Finds in February. We're going to do this every February. And what this whole month is all about is those upcoming artists. Yes, there's been a lot of them on my show already, but these guys that I'm featuring this month include some artists that are definitely kind of on the smaller side in terms of their following right now when it comes to Spotify streams and their social media presence. But I've pegged them as some folks that are definitely on the come up and who have some quality material that has got to get out there and should be in your ear. So today I've got Ciryus, the Modern Marvel here. He is reigning from Albuquerque, New Mexico. This episode is going to sound like a couple of guys sitting down, talking about hip hop, talking about beat making and the process of writing lyrics to those songs. And, it is just a fun episode. One of the coolest things about this conversation to me is, again, illustrating how small the world really is. I ran into Ciryus's material, and as I started looking through, I realized that he actually took part in flipping my man Kato, the producer's sample pack, and posted that on Instagram. I think that was like for a competition or something, but it just kind of shows how cool it is to be a music producer, be a part of this treasure box community, and how everything starts to become much smaller when you start networking and seeing who is active in the community. So Kato was on this show on episode 10. Now here for episode 35, I got my man Ciryus, who flipped Kato's tracks, who looks up to Kato as a mentor, and he talks more about that in the show. Let's get into it, y'all. Just want to remind everybody, check out the show notes down below. I've got a lot of links to the artists that are in this show. I've also got links to my Music Marketing Academy, my Facebook group, and I would appreciate you checking them out and growing this community stronger, all right? Because it's power in numbers, baby. With that being said, let's get to it. Here's my man, Ciryus, the Modern Marvel. Let's go. All right. Well, I've got my man, Ciryus, the Modern Marvel, here on the phone with me. Welcome to the show, my man.
Hey, man. Thank you very much. I'm glad to be on the show.
Yeah. Yo, my guy is reigning over here from Albuquerque, New Mexico. So a lot of firsts on my show. This is the first time we had somebody representing New Mexico. And we were just talking right now a little bit about, hey, you don't know where these sounds are going to come from. My man's got a little bit of a West Coast vibe, straight spitting with the lyrics as well as with his beats. The world is all connected right now, and the world is becoming smaller. So excited to have you from New Mexico, man.
No, I'm glad to be here, man. I'm glad to connect all the way to Los Angeles, man. It's
one thing we just started talking about even before I hit record. I was like, hold on, man, we got to hit record. Is your lyrics are, well thought out. Seems like that you're putting a lot of thought into your lyrics. And I'm just curious if you could talk to us, because we haven't had a lot of people on the show yet who are the beat maker and the rapper or the singer. So can you talk to us about what it's like to be a producer and actually perform at the same time?
Well, honestly, it's a really good feeling, as well as putting in a lot of work. It's a lot of dedication and time to make beats as well as put in lyrics. Mm-hmm. So one thing that I really love about it is you can put in your passion into the sounds, the chimes, the drums, and you can create however you want it. You know what I mean? And that's where it feels good, from the rhythm of the heart, how the blood flows, how you think about it, how just everything naturally clicks,
100%.
As well as from the lyrics, you start feeling it as every chime, every bass, as it's just a good feeling of just knowing I can't explain it. It's just a good feeling. It's lovely just to be able to make your own songs, put your thoughts, even try to open up the minds of people, because there's just so much that you can put into it, from poetic energy, literature, even math. People actually do math with the music too, because there's 60,000 seconds in a minute. Then you got to break that down by your BPM. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of stuff that really comes in putting into your music, from the reverb time, your delay time, all kinds of stuff. So, it's real good to know what you're doing, how to do it. And even if you don't know how, look up someplace to do it. If you have to go to YouTube, ask friends, ask ask old producers and old artists like, hey, what's the next avenue? What's the next step? How can I make it sound like this? And what do I need to do to evolve my sound?
100%, man. Well, I'm curious, how do you actually write a song? Do you start with the lyrics and then you already imagine the beat and you produce that? Or do you start with the beat and then write, a combination? Talk to us a little bit about that process.
It's kind of a combination of both. There's times where I can hear a beat and I'm like, oh man, that's already touching the soul and touching the heart, and I just automatically want to write to it. And then there's times where I'll actually produce the beat first, trying to get it the way that I want to sound. If it's a dark tone or if it's a little bit happier, that's where I actually spend just a little bit more time trying to think about the concept of if I'm going to get more storytelling, if I'm going to be more hip hop, or if I'm going to bring an underground kind of sound to it. And then after that, that's where I kind of vibe more to like the beat, the bass, and start writing a conscious lyrics to it.
So it sounds like a lot of times you're starting with the beat, maybe. I mean, obviously, I would imagine you kind of go both ways, right, on that. It could just be a matter of inspiration. But a lot of times you actually start out with the beat?
Yes. A lot of times you do start out with the beat, yes.
Dope. Another thing that you mentioned that I think is key, man, is, you're also looking up YouTube. You're finding resources for what you need to know and learn along the way. So another addition to that, because I think YouTube is great and you can get basically some virtual mentors that way. But you also talked about just asking other artists who have already been through the ropes and kind of seeing what's successful, what works, what doesn't, and talk about that networking and mentorship piece. So, who are some people that have really helped you out, and why is this important for other producers out there to start, thinking in this way?
Well, one major producer, which I'm pretty sure a lot of people know, is Kato, the producer. Works with Hobson, Jerry Benton, Joyner Lucas, with a lot of major names right now. He actually does a lot of sound advice, which is one of his new companies that he's opened. It's called Sound Advice, trying to open up an avenue to show other producers what to do, how to get your sound to get your perfect sound, and not to sound like everybody else, but how to find your perfect sound. He'll do a lot of inspiring videos and stuff, how he breaks beats down, comes in touch with other artists, how to be more of a professional aspect instead of just being more of I'm an artist, egotistic kind of aspect, and look at it as a way of teaching and learning instead of being I know all.
100%. I'm looking over here. We actually had Kato on the show. It was a while back. So if anybody else is curious about, what he's talking about, go back to episode 10 on my podcast. And Kato is a music entrepreneur, right? So he's got his sound advice thing. Like, I'm on the distribution list. So I got a text, I think like on Wednesday or Thursday. And he's like, hey, I'm going to be in LA. I'm going to be in Sacramento. I'm going to be somewhere else this weekend. And he brings these producers together. And he just has discussions around everything from, how you can EQ your bass, how you can sidechain something, down to marketing yourself, collaborative mindset, like all kinds of stuff, man. So shout out to him. Shout out to episode 10. Go back and check that out. And when I started digging into you, Ciryus, I did see that you use some of his samples. He has a sample pack and are familiar with him. So that's really cool that, the world is so small once again.
Yeah, actually, and it's actually really small too, that this next person that I actually just want to quick mention, because he's a real cool guy, is actually trying to do the same thing because he was inspired by Kato, talks with Kato, hangs out with Kato, was Nick the manager.
Okay, Nick the manager.
Yeah, Nick Jernigan. I've talked to him here and there. He's actually doing kind of like how Kato goes to different cities and does a little tour, but does sound advice tours and talks to other artists. He recently had just came through here, went to Texas and went to Arizona. And unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to meet him on this round, which I would like to meet him on the next one. But my brother got to meet him in Arizona, and he was one of the well-topped professional people you can meet trying to get out and trying to get like an avenue of what to do next as far as a manager, as far as what you need for ASCAP, publishing, digital distributioner, all kinds of stuff like that, touring, all kinds of stuff.
Nice. Well, I'm not familiar with Nick the manager, so I'm going to have to look that up. And once again, all my listeners out there, check that one out. He's on Instagram, it looks like, for just as Nick the manager, as you just said.
Yeah, that's
easy
the reason
to
why
find.
I said it like that, so that way people could just find him pretty easy. But his name is Nick Jernigan. But, he's a real good guy.
Absolutely. I feel like some of the things that used to happen are coming back. You know what I'm saying? And when I say that, like, I don't know, in the 90s and 2000s, 2010s, I guess, because we already surpassed that decade, believe it or not, I didn't see like a lot of successful tours. I feel like that industry started to get a little rocky. You know, things started changing with digital streaming services and all that. And just the whole industry in music and honestly creativity just started shifting, right? Social media, all the above. But the fact that a producer, and which is what Kato is doing, is going around doing different events, bringing beat makers together. It's almost like an old school wild style kind of event, right? You're just getting guys together that love making beats, love doing this hip hop or, other electronic production. And I don't know, it's like something old but new at the same time in this social media age, right?
Yes, exactly. I mean, you haven't seen something like this since Outkast, Goody Mob, since the Dungeon. You know what I mean? Like, people don't
100%.
get together anymore and actually make beats and actually just free flow and rap together, just have fun, because they have a passion. And that's what's cool, is he's actually bringing stuff back. And as well, too, is like, I really like the fact for him being a producer. A lot of producers don't talk about their secrets or how they do things, how they time things, because some of them get a little, oh, this is my secret. This is what makes me me. You know what I mean? Like, you don't really hear anything from like Timberland. You don't really hear anything from P. Diddy, all them who actually make really famous and outgoing, catchy beats.
100%.
That's what I like. As well as Devon Terrell. Mm-hmm. He's a real good producer and artist who actually does a lot of videos who I get a lot of my tips from as well, for mixing and editing and mastering. It helps a lot.
Dope. I'm not familiar with him either, so shoot me that link after we get off of this call, man.
Yeah.
Is something else that I feel like is coming back. And my man Roz, if you guys want to go back to the episode I had with Roz, he's another producer that was on the show, talked about something similar, and that is a producer album, right? I feel like I used to see a lot more of these things. DJ High Tech from back in the day, who used to work with Talib Kweli, did one, and that was one of my all-time favorites, actually. And it was super straight hip hop, but the whole thing was he just made the beats. He actually rapped like 2 verses the whole album, but otherwise he would bring like Common in, Sadat X, all kinds of folks. And you were actually talking about doing an upcoming producer album. So is that on deck, man? When is that coming?
Yeah, that's actually coming. At least I'm going to try to get it between this next year, between September and December. I still got a lot of artists here in the Albuquerque that I'm trying to put on, but I actually have most of it done. I'm just trying to get one of those little kinks and ninks done with it to make sure it sounds precisely the way that I want it, because like you said, this one's going to be a self-produced CD that I'm going to do. So I'm going to be testing more of the waters, like, hey, I started off with guitar, I started off with music theory, so now I'm transferring everything that I know and learned from Kato, Devon, Nick. I'm trying to learn what I can and put it all together as one theme and make my own compilation CD as well as a collabo CD.
100%. Love that, man. Love that. And you got a tribe of mentors right there, right? You just listed them off like, yo, these guys taught me what to do. And I don't know. I mean, how much have you like slapped down, and have you paid them money to learn from them?
There's some people like Kato. I've been wanting to put down some more money so I could get into the sound advice, because a lot of the stuff I learned from him is, through his YouTube and a lot of his channel himself. For Nick, I actually am going to be dropping $50 to go meet him, because he does a sound advice thing, and I'm going to meet him on the next round, so that way I can learn a little bit more and get more in contact with him and see what we can do. He's a real good man, humble, real good at heart, because what's cool about him, he does a lot of his stuff for free. He does a lot of YouTube videos that are just out there. He has a bunch right now. They're at 10, 20, even 30 minutes long, to teach you how to compress, record, how to start a mix, templates to everything. And he's actually working with, like I said, Futuristic, WTF, and he's actually done a lot of good stuff. And what I love about him is he just wants to teach everybody as much as he can.
That's awesome, man. And I think, honestly, the reason I asked you for that, or asked you that question, was to illustrate a point to our listeners, right? So far it sounds like you spent $50, and that's something that you're going to go do with Nick the manager, right? Otherwise, the amount of free content out there is mind-boggling, right? You can look left and right. If you're just making a conscious effort and trying to get better at your craft, you can find the things you need to get better. Listen to things like this podcast, listening to Levon or Kato on their Instagram or their YouTube. I mean, come on, y'all. If you want to do something right now, man, you can grab that knowledge and you can get out there and start doing it.
And that's one thing about what I love about living in this century. I'm a 90s baby, born in 93. So, I mean, got dictionaries. We barely just got the internet when I was getting into middle school. But living in this century, you have the access of 10,000 worlds at your fingertip. If you have a smartphone, an iPad, a computer, you can learn anything. All it takes, again, is what I said it before: time, dedication, and effort. And those are big three things that I think a lot of artists forget about, because they just want to put something out and just want to get it out. But there's a lot of effort and time and dedication that you got to put in to make it really sound like you.
100%, man. And I want to come back to that topic because this fits in perfectly with digital distribution and the fact that it's actually very easy to get your songs out there. But before we do that, I want to listen to one of your tracks. And this one is called First Time. What do we need to know about this song before we jump in?
This one gives a bit of more of my storytelling side of, the first time I heard a song, first time I was with friends, the first time I was, where I was at, and kind of more or less how I feel about where I'm at now, because, there's not a lot of people who told me that I was going to get this far. There's not a lot of people who believed in me, but, first time kind of proves that even from way back when I first hit the blunt, when I first heard the beat, when I first started talking to girls, there's a story of everything of what you can put into your music. So this is just basically a story of my life and how far I've gone with it.
Dope, man. I love that. Let's check a little bit of this out. Let's go.
Look down at Albuquerque. I'm ready to leave my mark. I'm going the distance. No matter the climb, I'm working the double days. My brain's on a runaway. Take this globe, greatness is what I made. Not even in my prime. Messy nigga up inside the game. Never been tamed. Rare breed rappers, and no, we're not the same. Ollie with Tyson. No, you never see me going down. Not even the final rounds. Jordan at 23, I mastered the underground. I'm doing next level nasty work with AKT and Kato. My style will have you top spinning like a dreidel. I roll the rings like I'm Hercules. Murder all these bumble dreams. Gonna be the buzz like woo woo, tang, stay humble, yes, and hopefully God will come and rescue me through the use of dope music before I lose it. I'm rushing for the miles, I'm never looking back. No, I'm never sounding whack. No, I'm never.
Woo! All right. Well, you were spitting some lyrics there. Love the track. When it comes to actually making the beats, writing the lyrics for that track, was there any obstacles, or did it really just flow out well? Like, what was the creative process?
Well, I just want to say, first of all, with this beat, personally, I had put money in to buy this beat from AKT Action, a really well-known producer who does a lot of contests to have artists as myself and new upcoming artists get their avenue of trying to voice themselves. What I did with this song is when I felt it, it just felt more of, I got to show the world what I'm feeling, where I'm at, and how I structured my life to become this artist that you see today. There's been a lot of ups and downs, a lot of good times, a lot of bad times. And I would say even in that song, I would not trade it for the world. You know what I mean? Like, this is something that has developed me as a person. All the, the bullshit of the world, all the good upcomings of the world, the good people, the bad people, has developed me to the man I am today.
Right on, man. Right on. Love that. Well, look, like I said, I wanted to come back to something. And one of the main reasons that we actually linked up, right, was about this digital distribution part of the business. You and I were chatting it up on Instagram, somehow got to talking, and I'm glad you made it to the show. What you said earlier really struck me. You are putting music out, and you're putting it out there for more than just to put it out, right? And I think it's really something that we need to think about and talk about because of how easy it actually is to get your music out there these days. So can you expand a little bit about what you meant by that?
Good question. The reason why I mentioned that earlier is because I've heard a lot of artists who put a lot of stuff out there, put a lot of material, and no disrespect to anybody. They have a passion for it, but sometimes people don't stay on tempo. People are not loud enough, don't have that voice for that song or the energy for that song, and they just put something else. Maybe it would have gone perfect if it was just a different beat, or maybe if they lowered the tempo, or, you know what I mean? There's a lot of different dynamics that could work with it, or maybe just spent a little bit more trying to work with the tempo. Again, the reason why I bring up those three things is because there's a lot of good artists that I have heard and worked with and done so much things with and just been inspired by that I was like, oh, that hits so good. But the tempo of their lyrics were just either rushed or too rushed or dragging. So it's like, it's stuff like that where people in the world will literally criticize and demean them for having a passion that they just put music out on. But what kind of sucks is putting that passion out there and then getting belittled for it. And that's where it kind of goes to being like what you put out kind of really should matter of how it sounds, the production, the engineering, as well as the lyrics.
100%. It represents you, right? It represents your brand. So, you know, it's like if Nike put out a shoe that falls apart, it's the same type of vibe, right? Like you'd be like, man, this is junk, where there's not really a lot of quality and care put into producing this.
Exactly. You're not going to go with Levi's Timberland brand kind of shoes. You want the actual Timbos because those are going to last and those are going to be for sure because those Levi's are going to break apart in the weather or whatever. 100%. You know what I mean? Like there's
yeah.
there's no disrespect because I do wear Levi's. I love them, man.
Right on.
No, like, again, no disrespect to any of those artists. You know what I mean? There's a passion that they have. There's just a little bit more, I say, before you jump into the game, practice a little bit more, put a little bit more attention to what you're saying, the precision, if you want to put more lyricism in it as far as poetry, because I use a lot of figurative language in my poetry or my raps. Because I think about it like a poetry, you know, I think about like all kinds of stuff. You know, like there comes a big thing that I can't really explain about because there's so much to making music for yourself that, again, it represents you and you don't really want to sound mediocre. You want to sound like you know what you're doing, you have good technique or good sounds. And even Travis O'Gwen, I believe that is the right name for Tech Nine's CEO and manager of Strange Music. He actually just got done doing a video talking about this, which you will be able to find on Kato, the producer's Instagram page. He talks about what they look for is not just lyrics, but the content of the storytelling, how the beat sounds, if it's engineered well. So, I mean, you can put a song out there, but if it's, and I've had a couple of past songs too that don't sound really too well produced or all that. So that, you know, I learned from that to be like, hey, now that I learned, I got to make sure my music is not top notch, 100%. Not recording quality, because you'll learn along the way to get there, but just to make sure it sounds proficient enough to hit the ears as well as the ears of producers and other label artists and all that to be like, hey, this really does bang out.
Now, when it comes to the actual process of getting music out there, why don't you tell my listeners a little bit about what digital distribution companies you've been working with to independently release your tracks?
So the two digital distributioners that I've worked with is TuneCore and CD Baby. And I just want to put out there, I am no bias to any other kind of companies because, you know, I've heard a lot of stuff where people try to say one's more professional, one's not. They are all professional. Right. It's just how the matter of how you use it, the tools that they provide to the artist is what really matters. For instance, I love TuneCore. They have helped me a lot more get my music onto Pandora, Shazam, Spotify. And what they do is they just help you with, you know, $10 for a single, $45 to put a whole album out, which can be anywhere between 5 songs all the way to 20, 25, 32 songs, whatever you want.
Right.
What's cool about the digital distributioner that I've gone with TuneCore, they've helped me gain over $500, even $600 at this point through YouTube videos. Wow. And all those YouTube videos, all the hardworking people who've put music videos out and all of that, this is where you're going to be making the money off of. Not the YouTube royalties or whatever YouTube kind of stuff. You're making money off the digital distributioner themselves. They are helping you produce your songs to all kinds of stores as far as iTunes, Shazams, Spotify. They help you get your music known.
Right. Now, I got a question about this. So, seems to me like TuneCore, you pay a one-time fee to get your music put up there, right? Every time you release an album or whatever it is. And then you also can get that track through YouTube. So when you're saying you made $500 to $600 on YouTube, does that mean it is your music video or people that use your music in their video?
It's my music video and so it's my music video. And what's cool about CD Baby, TuneCore, and I'm pretty sure DistroKid as well, they'll put your song on YouTube itself with just a picture of your album with the name of the song, and that actually helps you generate even more revenue. Right. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff that they also provide, and as well, like I said, with my music videos, they help monetize your music videos And that's when you see at the bottom, generated by YouTube or copyrighted by TuneCore,
100%.
copyrighted by Silverback. And that's where you'll see those videos are going to be the ones monetized, making money through digital distributors.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, I mean, was there anything that you learned in the process between TuneCore and CD Baby that you want to share? I mean, hey, no disrespect to them, right? But let's give our listeners the real deal.
Okay, so the reason why I kind of don't really like CD Baby too much is just the way they provide for the artist. It's not really to the core. I can say TuneCore provides a lot more love to get you well known through Spotify, iTunes, Amazon. They try to help you get the YouTube monetization. Well, CD Baby, I've had problems with them trying to even get my music video monetized. I've had problems trying to get my CD to come out. And it's funny because I've heard the opposite for both of them. But I mean, again, it's one of those things that you got to do a lot of info, a lot of research on the info and on each company, because a lot of people like DistroKid, a lot of people like CD, and a lot of people like TuneCore. Those are the main three ones that I've heard so far. Like out of all the artists that I've worked with, those are the three that I've heard that people go with. And it comes again back to how much royalties they take from you from helping you. What is the publisher fee that they're going to take? Where they're going to put your music out? How sufficient, inefficient, what they're going to do with your music? There's a lot of stuff that can come into that. And again, CD Baby has not been up to anything that TuneCore can provide. Just my personal opinion. That's just me, and anybody listening, I would say, again, do your own research, because there's a lot of stuff you will find that you like about certain companies and a lot of stuff you will not like about certain companies.
100%. So I've got actually a video on YouTube, and I show people how to upload things to DistroKid, which is a service that I used. Haven't used TuneCore, but I use DistroKid and I use Lander. I've got videos for both of those. And I'm going to try a third one out soon. So go subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll put the link in the show notes, where I'm actually going to use Amuse, which is really interesting. It's an app only. And I guess it's like sponsored somewhat by will.i.am. I think they're looking for artists. So, you know, they allow people to upload for free. And then when the song is really a hit, they actually might reach out to you to sign you. So it's just something interesting out there. And it may not be right. And I think to your point, Ciryus, you know, let's have our people get out there, go to the TuneCore website, go to the CD Baby website, go to all these different distributors, and just make a decision based on what sounds right to them, because there's a little bit different pricing models for each one. Some of them are more like, hey, you can release all the music you want for a certain dollar per month. Some of them are more like, you know, each time you release it's a certain amount of money. Different services like that, right? So it's going to matter between like exactly how many songs you're trying to put out, how frequently you think you'll release, and all these different things. But I think your point is key, and you just talking about it, man, sharing that makes me even want to say, wait a minute, what's up with TuneCore? Because that sounds pretty good. I was unfamiliar with the YouTube aspect.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, again, there's a lot of other companies, like you said, Distro, 1RPM, and CD Baby. They will all like help you with YouTube. But as far as TuneCore, they have really helped me the most get money from YouTube and stuff like that. And that's what I think is kind of a little bit more joyful and a little bit more of an accomplishment, as far, you know, because, hey, people are actually listening to the music and I'm gaining some profit from it. You know what I mean? From all those YouTube views where you're like, hey, how come this guy who does video games gets 10,000 views and still makes all this money? You know what I mean? Or someone who does this random ass thing and jumps off a building and gets 1 million views and makes all that money. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of stuff, but I feel good about knowing that people are actually listening, and, you know, a lot of people have listened so far, you know, and that's a good thing. Feels good that people are listening.
100%. Yeah, man. You know, I think that the thing I really also want to put out there is, we talked a little bit about, you know, just make sure that you're putting out quality stuff. And I feel like, you know, some of the best albums of our time or best artists of our time actually have put out very little music. When you think back to certain artists like Outkast, or maybe like Mos Def is actually a prime example, somebody that I really like. And it's like, dude, this guy's barely got any albums actually. So it's like, if you put out that quality over time, it will still shine. And that's just something to keep in mind, because we are in the age of just like, you know, releasing quickly, whether that's putting out a post or more a day on social media, or putting out a song a month, which some artists are doing right now, or probably even more frequently. You still got to think about that quality in addition to the quantity, right?
Yes.
I mean, you could actually literally go right after you listen to this episode, go make a beat, write some lyrics, record it, and actually have this thing up there in just like maybe a few hours or a couple of days at most using these digital distributor services. You could have that on Spotify like that. This is an unprecedented time for how fast we can release content to the entire world.
And I can say this too, like you were saying before we got on, CDs are obsolete. You know what I mean? Nobody listens to CDs. There's none of this, you're going to go to a record store and buy a CD. What's kind of funny is, records are coming back, but, CDs are kind of obsolete. Digital.
And cassettes even.
Yeah. Tape decks, all those are gone. And that's where I grew up too, was having a tape deck, you put it in a cassette. But anyways, even with digital distribution, that's where you're going to now get the attention of all the listeners, all the new age kids, and it's funny, even all of us old peeps who are grown up in the 80s and the 90s and didn't have the ability to know about, hey, let me just pay 99 cents for just this one song. We had to pay for the whole dang album if we just liked one song. You know what I mean? But
totally.
Now at this time, you can actually do so much. It's at your fingertips. So take advantage of what you do with the digital distributioner. And one thing I want to say too, like you were saying, sometimes it works both ways to have a lot of stuff out there, because one artist I would like to mention is Russ. Russ put so much work out there. He even mentions it in his one of his videos. He didn't get famous until about the 10th album he put out. He already had albums out there. He already had songs out there. But it wasn't until the 10th one that someone was listening and was like, hey, we need to sign this kid, so, 100%. But it was probably because he still had top quality music. Again, quality counts. If you're putting out something every month and all that, make that quality count, because somebody is listening. Doesn't matter if it's 3 years from now, if it's 4 years from now, somebody's going to listen and catch you and be like, hey, this guy has potential and want to put you on.
Right on, right on. Well, hey, with that, you've actually got a new track, I think it is, or maybe it's a whole album, but we're going to feature the track, All Work, No Play, because we're talking about releases. You've actually got an upcoming release. I think this is coming out like today or just came out yesterday.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about this track, bro.
Yeah, February 14th, it just came out. It's called All Work, No Play. You can find it right now on iTunes and all that. It's a really dope song. What I did with this one, it has more of an EDM kind of popish kind of to it. I kind of gave it a good feel to it. The reason why I chose this beat and wanted to work with this beat, I gave another storytelling of, hey, I love my music. I can mess around with it. I can put so much storytelling in hip hop. But if I'm doing all kinds of work and being serious about it, no pun intended, and just being, all moody all the time, all emo rap kind of stuff, you're not going to have fun with the music. You're not going to enjoy it. I mean, if you like that kind of music, okay, cool. But at some point, you want to throw a funky jam. You want to jump around. You want people to be like, hey, this one, just roll down the windows, roll down and just bump to it. You know what I mean? Like, that's what this one is. I've worked so hard that this one is my play track. So I think people are going to hear my wordplay, my lyricism, and this one actually is going to be a single off the new upcoming CD dropping in September, Hear No Evil.
Love that, man. Love that energy. I hear the excitement in your voice. So let's check the track out right now.
All work and no play makes the marvel a dull boy. All work and no play makes the marvel a dull boy. My basic Avessa has a relation. Now past 10, that's just my dedication. About to end the game, hip hop revelation. Only one marvel, no imitation. That's why I be smoking medication. I've been working on my struggles to make sure my demons don't step outside this meditation. Evolve my style to a whole new elevation. Ever since I started, I was meant for greatness. Even after death, my flow will keep its preservation. Go global, have everyone hating. Find a new city, new girl I wanna lay with a shorty so good. Might skip the next show, I just wanna stay in. New city, I just wanna bang with. New artist, I'ma keep on starving. Party and play with my friends.
All right. We checked it out. Everybody, go check this man out on Spotify. Go press follow when you get to his page. You're going to find the link down in the show notes. And be ready for this track and the upcoming album, man. I'm super excited to hear that. And you better believe, you know what? Hold on. I'm on your Spotify right now. I'm hitting follow. Let's go. Tell us a little bit about your actual laboratory. What are you using in the studio to produce tracks and record? What are some of your favorite stuff?
Well, one of the things that I love to use that I've been working with right now is Studio One. Studio One, they just
Okay.
dropped a new version. I'm working with Studio One 3. They just dropped the
Okay.
Studio One 4.6, which is the same thing, but just way more phenomenal. What I like about Studio One is they offer so much more to the artist as far as, and no disrespect to all the other ones, this is just the one I love, just like Logic Pro. They offer so much instrumentals, so much instrument options, effect options, as well as they break down the library from loops to files and even other VSTs that you may download or other plugins. One of my favorite plugins that I've been using right now is Arcade Output. That's the one you'll be seeing.
Okay, nice. No, I know that one, and I just think it's nice.
Oh, dude,
That's it.
I love it right now, man. It's actually real cool.
Yeah.
It's one of the very few plugins that I have been messing with this last like 3 months. The reason why I mess with this one is because what comes to a lot of producers, which they don't really know about, is being in the right key. You can make a song, you can put music out there and put it together, and yeah, sometimes it'll sound good. But being in key is a big thing that even producers and major record labels will listen to on your albums, is how, if it's in key, your voice, the
100%.
way it sounds and everything. And that's what's cool about Output, is if you're in the key of E, B flat, F sharp, you can go and just select it and it'll help you bring up all those kinds of stuff. And their library for their loops as well as instruments is outrageous. They add stuff every day. They keep putting new stuff every week. It's one of those things that you're never going to get tired of messing with because there's always something new to work with.
100%, man. You know, I have that, and I actually haven't dug that much into it. But when I have, there's definitely been some surprising things on there, and just so many different ways you can take that.
Yeah, there's so many ways. And what's cool about it, too, is that even some of the pre-loops, they go with the tempo. So whatever BPMs you're in, if it's 140, sometimes I even mess with 75 BPMs because I'm an old school head and I like messing with and doing samples that are like 90 beats per measures or even 75, like I said. It'll keep those loops and those instrumentals in that tempo so that way it doesn't go out of sync.
Totally. So that is the first time too I've had somebody shout out Studio One. So I'm not too familiar with that DAW, but you're saying they have a lot of presets and different instruments that are just part of the package, so to say?
Yeah. So basically what's cool about Studio One is they kind of took a little bit of all the DAWs that you're familiar with, from Cubase, FLs, Logic, and they kind of put it and mixed it into kind of a one studio thing that even major producers are using now to this now. What's cool about it is they bring so much to the table that you're kind of like wondering, oh, where do I start off at? You know, they bring so much. Sometimes it's overwhelming, but what's cool is that once you start getting into it and understanding how the buses work, how the leveling works, how you can bring in the tempo, chop the tempo, however you want to do. This brings in a lot more dynamics than I've seen from other ones. I used to work with GarageBand back in the day because that's all we were able to use back in the day kind of thing. But seeing this, it brings a lot more opportunity to the artist to expand, not just their sound, but their own melodies, to make their own their production and engineering, as well as their mastering. They offer masters if you buy the actual full production one, because I have the artist version. If you buy the professional one, they actually comes with the mastering DAW that after you're done mixing and engineering and mixing down, you can transfer it to your mastering DAW and master it straight from there.
Yo, I'm looking at it again online on the phone here. I promise I was listening, bro.
No,
but I just got a little bit surprised here about how advanced and cool Studio One's looking right now, man. I thought this was actually a free DAW. There's one out there. It must be named something slightly different. But Studio One's got a feature called Fine Tune with Melodyne. Yep. So you can actually get in there and do pitch correction very easily, it looks like here. Got some also sampling tools, got patterns, got Impact XT, which I don't even know what that one is, some kind of drum machine. Oh my gosh, I don't want to buy something new, but I'm getting tempted.
I can tell you this too, man. What's cool is they offer free updates, do all this and that. What's cool is when you first when you first sign on and you get to the open page, open program, it actually offers you the opportunity to learn new stuff from other Studio One professional artists or tutorial teachers. It just brings up a side menu with the dates and time, or even free plugins. Sometimes Studio One will offer you free plugins from the audio waves. Like it's pretty cool. They do a lot of cool stuff. Presonus does a lot of cool stuff.
Awesome. Well, hey, I want to shout out the Personas fam, Studio One. Again, we've had a little bit of a back and forth on this show about different DAWs. I think the general consensus is, just for all my listeners out there, that it really doesn't matter what you use. It matters how you use it. But this was definitely cool to get a little bit of insight on Studio One, because we mostly talked about Ableton, FL Studio, and Logic. But now we've got a fourth contender right here.
That's cool. That's cool that I can actually bring something like that up, because I love to actually brag about Studio One because of how cool they are. So I'm glad I could bring that up and be the first one to bring it up.
100%. But hey, I just want to throw this out there. You were talking about Kato earlier. He actually uses Reason. Now that is obscure, okay? In terms of like hip hop producers, especially.
Yeah. See, that's like people using Audacity and stuff like that. And like, that's it again. But you're right. It doesn't matter what program it is. It matters of how you use it. And the same thing with, again, the digital distributioners. I love TuneCore. People don't like it. Other people love other stuff, but it matters of how you use it. That's where you're going to make yourself. And if it shows growth, that's all that matters.
I want to just say thank you for being on the show, my man. It was really awesome to get you on here. This is part of our Fresh Finds February series. You are putting out great stuff. We want to see you grow your following. So all my listeners, I am serious. Go follow him on Spotify. Go check him out on Instagram. Putting the link down in the show notes. Where else can they find you? And is there any last words of advice that you want to leave?
You can also find me on YouTube. My YouTube channel, if I can shout it out, is Silverback Records, out for Primate Entertainments, as well as you can find me on Twitter at Ciryus_777_SBR. And the last thing I just want to say to all artists is keep putting your passion and keep putting your heart into your music. Don't sell out. You don't need to sound perfect for anybody. Just do you. You don't have to have a perfect sound and try to be perfect for your friends or for the mainstream or for anybody else. Just do you. And I think that's where a lot of artists get confused, because they want to sound like their favorite artist, or they want to sound so perfect that the industry gets it. No, just do you. And that's where you're going to make your big come out.
Love that, man. Just do you. We're going to go ahead and clip that one for the live audio/video on Instagram, because that is what I love to hear. Just do you, and get your stuff out there. And you can be that innovator, not that emulator, right?
Exactly. I love that. You need to cut that as a quote too.
I will, man. I will. But thank you so much for inspiring me, bringing me energy. All my listeners, check him out at those areas where he mentioned before. They're down in the show notes. And dude, once again, Ciryus, awesome to have you, bro.
Nah, thank you very much, man. I do appreciate your time and just everything you're doing, man, because not many people do what you're doing to help the artists and upcoming artists, get heard. So big kudos to you, man. Much love.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode. We got another episode coming out very soon in our Fresh Finds February series, where you are going to hear another upcoming artist who's on the smaller size right now. But honestly, there is no damn reason they should be, because their music is hot, their mindset is amazing, and they've got so much talent. So go check out Ciryus. I put his links down in the show notes, whether you listen to it on Apple, Spotify, my website, really anywhere that you can get a podcast. Check out those links, and please support these artists and subscribe to the show to support me and my team. I'm going to tell you, this show was super cool. We went all over the place. We talked about the tribe of mentors that you can build on the internet using Instagram, using YouTube, not to mention the importance of networking in your local scene and getting down with folks in the community that can teach you hands-on, that have gone through the struggles that you have gone through. That is how you can propel yourself forward super quick. It's all about that mentorship. With that being said, I want everybody out there to consider joining my Music Marketing Academy, okay? Because I'm going to tell you what, I've been through the ropes, I've been talking to these artists, and I know a lot of things that can help you out. You can go to fermimusic.com/marketer and sign up for the advanced access to that course that is going to be fully released soon, okay? You do not want to miss out on that because, again, as we talked about in this episode, it's all about building that tribe of mentors. And you know what? You don't have to be face-to-face necessarily with these folks because the internet is amazing, right? It can compress time. It can compress space. Now, there was a whole lot of jewels in that episode. I don't blame you if you go back and play it again. Go ahead and press rewind, whether it was about Ciryus and his music himself, how he writes lyrics, how he is so passionate about his music, his insights about Studio One, which no one has really shouted out yet on this podcast, or so much more. Okay? If y'all are ready to bounce, I'm ready to bounce too, and I will see you next week. Check out this last track before we hit the road. I'll see y'all later. Peace.